We talked about four things. I think it's important to focus and give structure when there's something that's so amazingly, it's like an ocean, an endless ocean of information to explore. But when we categorize it and give it steps and definition, it helps us to understand it. We talked about creating a dream in terms of these four essential components. Sometimes I like to call them pillars, sometimes I like to call them keys, but it is vision. You must have a vision. Faith, you must believe in the vision that you have. Action, or it will never get done. There are those who dream and those who do, but only those who dream and do will make their dreams come true. Are you a doer or are you a dreamer? Well, the magic only happens when you can be both. And the last one is sacrifice. You know, whatever happens when you put the orange on the altar and you don't eat it. Something behind the altar says, ooh, this dude's serious. Gong puts spam and cigarettes. But then he's an out-of-the-box kind of guy too. Point is it only matters if it's something meaningful to you. So it's not the orange that's holy. He happened to care about spam and cigarettes because he grew up in Hawaii. So that was the greatest sacrifice he could make. But the four keys, the actual mechanics of success is what I wanted to talk about tonight, which those are commitment, moderation, consistency, and confidence. Commitment, moderation, consistency, and confidence. Now, commitment, I wrote, is a focused desire that has been purified by wisdom. Wisdom is being wise. And wise means you understand the why. That's why they call it wise. Think of it. Let's say you're with somebody and they make you want to say something really either rude or hurtful. But when you lift up and see the bigger picture, you say, that wouldn't be wise for me to say this. Because then you don't do it because you understand why you shouldn't do it. Wisdom is always the understanding of why you'll do a certain behavior over another one. By the way, wisdom is always choosing the greater thing over the lesser thing. The only question is if you have enough awareness to know. The person who forgets the ultimate will become a slave to the immediate. In other words, if you can't see the big picture, you won't really know what to do in your small day-to-day actions. And your small day-to-day actions will begin to dictate to you what needs to be done because you lack the vision. And commitment, once awakened, begs you this question. How bad do you want it? How much do you want? Isn't your commitment going to be commensurate to that? If you say, well, I'm not really feeling it, who's the one who's not really feeling it? But anyways, you can't beat the science. 1 + 1 = 2. And as you do something daily and consistently, it leads to multiplication of your effort. So each thing that I talked about in terms of transcendence had to do with something that I cared about enough to commit to it. The first step is always commitment. By the way, would you be willing to commit to yourself in your own life? And by the way, do you know the difference between ambition and aspiration? Well, I'll give you a small thing. Ambition is selfish desire. Aspiration is holistic or holy desire, meaning it takes in the whole picture. Ambition must be achieved or a darkness comes over the soul. The darkness has 3 faces: anger, depression, or greed. Could be said like this: when you have an ambition, if you don't attain it, you either become angry or depressed. But if you do obtain it, you become greedy. Have you noticed the person like, I just want to make $1 million? Then they get, okay, 2 million. Okay, 4 million. It suddenly taps you into this thing of never being enough. Because it's about the service of yourself and it's not about the service of something greater than yourself. An aspiration is about the service through yourself, and it does serve you, but it includes more than you. That's why we call it holistic. Like what I'm doing here is good for me, but it's also good for you. We're growing together. It's an aspiration. Universal School of Self is an aspiration, not an ambition. If I was sitting around at night going, how do I get rich? This would not have been my thought. So I'm serving something, and by the way, that can come or go. The point is that it's not the point. Aspiration only requires integral action and is free from attachment to result. The hardest thing to learn. I remember I called Gong in the midst of our, in the heyday of the Tucson school and say, I'm working so hard, but I just don't know if they're going to get it. I don't know how many will get it. And I wanted, my whole purpose was to honor you and your teaching. And I don't know if I'm going to be successful. And he said, as long as you try, Bob, as long as you try. Meaning, in aspiration, the fulfillment comes through the effort. The results is not what you're working for. And that's how my battery doesn't get tapped out. Next group. Because I'm doing it for the love of the work itself. And I know something's growing and being nurtured, but I'm not checking all the time. Nothing, that proves that it's a selfish interest and not aspirational. Ambition is a state of unrest that cannot be quenched. When one ambition is fulfilled, another arises. But aspiration arises from peace and clarity, maintains it throughout the journey, and returns to it long after aspiration has dissipated. Do you get the point? It's like you begin with peace. You have peace throughout the endeavor. Whether the endeavor is accomplished or fulfilled, your peace maintains itself as these I'll call them temporary projects come and go. Like I'm sitting, I'm at peace. An idea for a poem comes to me. I write the poem. I put the poem out. Some people cheer, some people boo. I go back to my peace. I write another poem. So the reason I want to bring it up is because some of us can have anxiety issues, or we call it performance anxiety. By the way, it's not easy playing a violin. So it's fair to feel like you don't know what you're doing. It's going to take time. But I want you to understand this idea as we enter into this talking about commitment, the 4 keys to success. The first one being commitment, that you understand that it's about awakening an aspiration. Your journey, I guarantee you, your journey is connected to the lives of others. And what you cultivate in yourself will be something to be shared. It's not something to be hidden. Awakening, for example, is not for you only. Because you awaken in the midst of a booming and bustling universe that you are a part of. And if you don't see that, you're not awake.